So, once again, a very good morning and a very warm welcome to our speaker for the day, Miss Alma Chopra, and my lovely students who have all made it a point to wake up so early, that too when it's so cold. So, thank you so much for all the students to join in and prepare yourself, of course, before the session. So, we can get started with today's session. And like you all know, that today we are going to have a great session, and in fact, a very important and a very pressing session on the topic celebrating uniqueness, respecting differences, and honoring similarities. This is going to be a very fresh perspective for all your promising futures, my dear students. So, I would request each of you to be very attentive and as well as very interactive in today's session. To give you all a brief introduction about who Alma is, so she is a socially conscious entrepreneur, motivational speaker, life coach, disability advocate, and an inclusion ambassador. But out of all these work tags, she is a fighter and a survivor because she has been surviving a neurological condition called cerebellar ataxia conqueror over the last 2 decades. At the tender age of 10, Destiny introduced her to cerebellar ataxia, an uncommon condition that affects balance and coordination, causing movements to become unsteady. Even though ataxia tried to limit what she could do, her spirit burned bright, pushing aside boundaries and embracing life's beauty with unwavering determination. She persevered through relentless battles, refusing to relent. Through the aid of exercises, Reiki, meditation, and various metaphysical disciplines, she unearthed a resolution, and she kept her footing firm, undeterred even on the slipperiest of her grounds. Today, she teaches people how to stay grateful in life and as well as to God, even in the face of adversity. Through her teachings, she aims to shift the perspective of society, encouraging them to view disabilities not as limitations, but as unique abilities that can bring something extraordinary to the table. She envisions a world where the acceptance of differently abled individuals is an everyday norm. I just want to request, I'm so sorry. She envisions a world where the acceptance of differently abled individuals is an everyday norm. The vision extends beyond mere acceptance to a realm where accessibility and inclusivity are not just prioritized, but effortlessly woven into the fabric of our communities. So today we are here with Alma, and let us all join her in her noble mission as together we sow the seeds of positivity and cultivate a garden of smiles in the lives of all those we encounter. So, thank you so much once again, Alma, for being here with us today. And we are all very fortunate to be able to meet you, at least meet you, and hear and learn from you. So, thank you so much, Alma, and over to you.
No, thank you, Salome. Thank you, Salome and Mr. Satish, for the opportunity to talk to the young minds, which really are our future. So I appreciate the opportunity, and I applaud you all students for getting up so early, right before the New Year's, and on a very cold morning. So I just want to take a minute to thank you guys, and thank you for giving me the opportunity again to try to teach you something that may come in use in your futures. So with that being said, I I think Salome gave me a great introduction, so there's no need to reintroduce myself. So let's get right into the topic that I want to discuss today, which is diversity and inclusion. Diversity and inclusion is not per se a topic that you would get to learn as a subject, but I think learning about diversity and inclusion is something that is not only really pervasive today in today's understanding, but is actually kind of the backbone for your learning. The more you understand, the more you can relate to diversity and inclusion in your learnings and in your understandings and in your own teachings, perhaps. That's only going to benefit you in the future and your endeavors. So let me go. Solomon, can we go into the third slide? Okay, so let's start right away. So what is diversity? Does anyone want to give, let's try and make this interactive, like Salome said. So can anyone give me a definition of diversity?
Uniqueness, ma'am.
Yeah, okay, so uniqueness. So let's take it one step further. Diversity is uniqueness. Why is diversity important?
To know each other better, ma'am, I guess.
To know each other better. Okay, so let me take a step back. A uniqueness, that's great. So the example I have for today is we take a box of crayons, right? You have blue, you have red, you have black, you have yellow, you have green, right? What if you had a box of crayons with just black? That wouldn't be too much fun, right? When you draw a picture, you like, I don't know about you guys, but I like drawing with green. Sometimes I like drawing with red, purple. If I made a picture of all purple, it wouldn't look too appealing to me. I don't know about you guys, but I like colors in my pictures and my paintings. So that's one example of diversity, right? So if you have a box of crayons, having just black in that box versus having all of the colors of the rainbow, I think that box that has all colors of the rainbow makes it more appealing. So that's kind of what diversity is. It's like putting all of the different people together, right? So for example, some of you are from Nepal, some of you are from Visakhapatnam, some of you are from some of you are in Bombay, some of you are in Bengaluru. Just like it's all of you are coming together, right? Some of you have different backgrounds, speak different languages. So all of you are like the crayons coming into a single box, making that box more appealing. So we can talk about what color you want to be in that box of crayons, but for now you're just people with different backgrounds. So the next example I want to touch upon is, how many of you have seen the movie Dangal? Has anyone seen the movie Dangal with Amir Khan?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay,
Yes,
so
ma'am. Yes, ma'am.
Yes,
okay,
I think there are a lot of hands raised in the classroom that says that a lot of students have watched Dangal.
oh, okay.
Hmm.
So Lumi, you can be my eyes in terms of, because I can't see the hands going up. So I'm trying to
Sure.
make this interactive. So if people do raise hands, or if you have any comments or responses to the questions that I asked, please do just kind of blurt them out. So I think Dangal is a great example of diversity. right? You have two sisters who came from a very unlikely background and they made it to the top. So how does this depict diversity? Well, they entered into a sport, into a kind of a spectrum that really didn't allow people from that background, right? So I think it's a great example of how people from a not very likely background can overcome the odds to make themselves fit in, to make themselves fit out, and to make themselves successful. So I wanted to touch upon that movie for this example to show that when you have people from diverse backgrounds, in this case, from impoverished background, that it doesn't, just because you come from a certain space or you have a certain ideology, it doesn't limit what you can do. So, Slomi, if you can go on to the next slide now. So, inclusion. Okay, so before I talk about inclusion, I want to say that the movie Dangal is also an excellent example of inclusion. So we have the two sisters who are actually beaten down quite a bit in the movie. They were kind of verbally abused and they were kind of shunned out. And they've shown include, like, by the end of the movie, you see that they were included because of their success. Now, let me take a step back and tell you what inclusion is. Inclusion is, despite the differences that diversity poses upon us. So because you're different because you're from a different background, maybe because you speak a different language, because you believe it, you have a different religion that you believe in, maybe you're a different color, all of these things make you different, and all of these things may make it easier for people to say, oh, I don't want to include her. But inclusion is I think it's the ideology that says, okay, even though this person is different, even though this person comes from a different background, even though this person has different belief system, we'll include her. So inclusion is the idea of including all people, regardless of their differences, regardless of that they have different beliefs, regardless of that they come from a different area, regardless that they have, maybe they speak a different language. So that's what inclusion is. And aside from Dangal, how many of you have seen the movie Tare Zameen Pe?
Yes, ma'am.
Yes, ma'am.
I think almost everyone has watched that.
Okay, great. So it's actually one of my favorite movies, but for the purposes of this discussion, I also chose this movie as an example of inclusion. Why? Because if you remember the story, which I kind of remember, even though I saw it a long time ago, the movie was about a boy who saw the world differently, right? Because of his condition, dyslexia. And if you remember in the movie, he was put down and made fun of by many of his peers. And then his teacher, which in this case was Amir Khan, really understood him and he tried to help him. And because of that compassion, not only did the student learn and become his best self, but the
On to
I'm sorry? Okay, so what ended up happening is that both parties, meaning the student and the teacher, learned from the student's uniqueness. So when inclusion happens, something really beautiful happens, right? When you accept someone despite their differences, they talk differently, they come from different backgrounds, they see things differently, basically different perspectives, a beautiful thing happens. Not only do you give the other person a chance to feel included and a chance to express themselves, but in turn, you also are changed. You also get the opportunity to learn from that person. No matter how smart you think you are, no matter how open-minded you think you are, as soon as you accept someone who is different, you learn something from themselves. You learn something from them, whether it's from their life experiences, whether it's from what they believe in, whether it's from their backgrounds. There's something you can always learn from accepting someone who is a little different from you. Before we go on to the next slide, let me ask everyone here, if you can, Somi, if you can help me moderate, I want to hear examples of how people's friends, and if they think they're different, what they learn from their friends.
Sure. I think maybe students can share their experience of if they have friends who they think are different from them, and of course, what are the things that you feel very impressed about by them, and what are the things that you're learning from them? Yeah? Okay. Go ahead, Stans.
So, ma'am, actually, in my last class, actually now I'm in ninth class, but in my last class in eighth, actually there were two new admission girls who were from, one was from Punjab and second was from uh, Himachal. Yeah. So one is Mannat and second one is Juniali. So actually, the thing was they both were different from our culture and they were both new to that society. So actually, first, Mannat, her name sounds me so familiar because over here when I was in Chandigarh, so my best friend name was also Mannat. So I was feeling so connected with her somehow. But with Jinyali, I never thought that I will be that much connected with her. But I am very interested to meet new people, interact with them, and that make me feel very good. Okay, so when I met them, when I interact with them, they were so fun people, especially Jinyali. She turned out to be one of the most friendly person I can met. So yeah, I think that they both are very different for Ladakh society. But now I would also like to share uh, my story. Actually, from actually I used to study in Chandigarh itself before I came to Ladakh. So actually, we were quite different from Chandigarh peoples. Actually, we were having little small eyes, and our features were a little different. So Ladakh was not that much famous at that time. So they used to call us Chinese. So which is kind of bit normal for us because Ladakh was not that much famous, and we were a child, we were quite naive at that time. So I used to okay, you can say me Chinese, I'm fine with that. But the thing is, like, my my elder sister used to find that a little awkward. She used to find that something like a bully, but I was quite naive, so I was like, okay, it's fine with me. Yeah, that's all.
Thank you. Thanks for sharing. That's a great example, right? So if you just take within India, there's so many people. Diversity comes from different cultures, like you mentioned. you know, the facial features are smaller, are different. And some people, like you said, you know, they don't readily explain, or if you look a certain way, they'll call you all Chinese, right? Or they'll call you all Mexican, or, you know, whatever may be the case. So thanks for sharing. That was a great example of diversity, right? You know, going to different cultures, trying to fit in, trying to blend in. It's not always easy, because people have their own hesitations, right? Their own kind of prejudices. So with that example that you just gave, can we go on to the next slide? I think this is a great segue into the next topic. I'm sorry, can you go to the next slide?
Is the next slide breaking stereotypes?
Let me just check.
Yes.
It's inclusion etiquette. Maybe the last slide.
I don't have that slide.
Okay, so let me talk about inclusion etiquette. So what you just stated, I'm sorry, what was the student's name?
Her name is Stanzin Deacon. Stanzin.
Okay, so with the example Stanzin just shared, let me talk a little bit about inclusion etiquette. So like when you gave the example of when I think you said you went to Ladakh and people called you Chinese, I think you said you were okay with it, but your sister was not, right? So that's an example of inclusion etiquette. As you grow into your fields, into your careers, a part of diversity and inclusion is your etiquette, how you refer to people, right? It's so like you said, you were okay with being called a certain thing, even though that's not what you were. But on the other hand, your sister was not, right? So there's a little bit of difference. So in diversity and inclusion, if you want to appeal to all people, there's a certain etiquette that you have to learn. There's a certain way to address people that you're not rude. So there are certain people that do get offended that you call them Chinese if they're not from China, right? And maybe if they're from Korea or from this case, I don't know, maybe if they're from Nepal and they have certain Oriental features and you call them Chinese, maybe they would get offended. There are some people that don't get offended, right? But there is a certain inclusion etiquette. So when you refer to someone, you have to use terms that, number one, they would be okay with. Because like I said, some people get offended if you call them based on stereotypes, based on what you perceive them as. So that's an example of inclusion etiquette. But another example of this can be found in Lagan, right? So how many of us have seen Lagan here? Salome,
I
yes.
think there'll be very few people who watched Lagan.
Oh, okay.
Not, I don't think anyone has watched Lagan here. I have, but the students might not have.
Okay.
Oh, there's one student, two students who watched Lagan.
Okay, so if we look at the movie Lagan, right? Many of you have not seen it, so let me just give a brief recap. Lagan was a movie set a long time ago when the British ruled India. And as we know, India is comprised of many different states, many different cultures, many different backgrounds. So at that time, we all came together to kind of kick the British out of India. So that movie was centered around the game, but the point is, people from different cultures and backgrounds needed to come together to overcome a certain challenge, in this case, the British. So in order for people to come together, people had to disregard their stereotypes. Oh, people from Chandigarh are smelly. People from maybe people from Kolkata think certain way. People from Madras only like eating fish and that's all they care about, right? So people had to get rid of these stereotypes to come together to see how can we come together for the greater good of India, right? So just regarding stereotypes, thinking and accepting everyone's ideas, right? Because everyone based on your background, based on your experience, will have a different idea. So if there's a problem, you will come at it with, okay, this is the solution, but I will come to that problem and say, no, this is the solution, and this is how we'll get there. So based on that, you and I will have a confliction on how to get to the solution. But it's about me understanding you and you understanding me at the end of the day to see how we can work together to overcome that, so to get to a solution and overcome that problem. So I think Lagan is a great example of this. Now, again, I want to open up the forum to ask you if to give me an example of when you have worked with someone to overcome a problem and to come up with a solution. Do you have any takers, Salome?
Not yet.
I would like to speak, ma'am, about it.
Yes, please go ahead.
So actually, right now, whenever I face a problem or I have to find a solution, I go to my sister, because she's like, in this topic, she's like quite mature than me. And like, I go running to her and say, ask for a solution. Okay. So she said to, for example, she asked me about all the problem I have created till now, and then she's like, okay, you have did that, now we have to find a solution as up. So like, no, I think I go to my sister, and a problem I created was last year. I'm proud to say that I was a captain of Wipro, but the one problem was that our project have been given us too late. So there was just a week to submit that, and I was like, I was just getting panicked about that, because a lot of students were going to their home in their holidays. So I was getting panicked about that, because we have not started till yet, because we were having our exams too. So at that time, I ran to my sister, and she was like, "Oh my gosh, you have left lots of work right now, so we have to do it from the starting." So we stayed up till 1:12, something like that, in night. Okay, so then we were eligible to submit our project at time.
Very nice. Thank you for that example. Now, it sounded like that was the same student from before, correct?
Yes.
Stans, okay. Very nice to hear, Stans. Okay, so that's a great example, right? Your sister's older. Your sister has more experiences. So whenever in this case, when you had a problem, you went to your sister and you guys both work together to come up with a solution. That's a great example, right? Because your sister may have more experiences because of her age, maybe because of her exposure, because of what she has come across in life, maybe that you haven't had the opportunity to come across, maybe because you're younger, maybe because you have, I don't know, maybe because you haven't, maybe she's traveled more than you. And so you guys came together to come up with a solution to overcome the problem, right? You were able to submit your paper on time. So that's a great way. That's a great way that shows how people from diverse backgrounds can come together to come up with even greater solutions. So can we go back one slide?
Yes. Can you tell me which slide do you want?
The one right before this.
Breaking stereotypes?
Yeah, so this goes into, this kind of goes into inclusion, and it kind of sums up everything. So, like Stan said, right, when she went to, I think she said Ladakh, she was stereotyped, right? You look Chinese, and like what I said, like if people say, oh, people from Madras only eat fish, that's a stereotype. I don't know that they only eat fish, but I'm stereotyping that all people from the South region eat just fish. Stan was stereotyped by saying all people that look this way must be from China, you know? So that's what a stereotype is. It's saying a person who looks like this or feels like this or acts like this must be this way. So it's like bringing your own, it's kind of, I would say, having a preconceived notion of what something is, or let me try to make that more understandable. It's having an idea of what something is without actually understanding it. So, okay, before I go into my example, is there anyone besides Stan, because I know she has a lot of opinions, is there anyone who can give me an example of a stereotype?
Stereotype that Asians are good at math, ma'am.
I'm sorry, Stoney, I didn't hear that. Can you
repeat, Nima?
Yes, ma'am. The stereotype that Asians are good at math.
I wasn't able to hear that.
I think he's typing it out.
Yeah, maybe Altra is gonna suggest if you could maybe type it out and if you could maybe read it.
Yeah, sure.
So while we're waiting for him to type out his example, let me give you another example of a stereotype. So
Okay,
like,
so I'm sorry. I'm very sorry to interrupt you, Alma.
that's
Yeah.
fine.
So, okay, the stereotype that Asians are good at math.
Okay, that's a great example, actually. Thanks for that great example. So yeah, so all Asians are great at math, right? But is that really true? Now you can look at just the people on this call. We're all Asian, right? Some of us are good at math, some of us are better at the arts, some of us are more more science minded, right? So for example, when I was a child, I was better at the arts. One of the degrees with which I graduated is a science-based degree. And although it had just a little bit to do with stats, I wouldn't say my strongest suit is mathematics. So right there, I debunked that stereotype, Hannah. So, and I'm sure the same thing is with many of you. I don't think all of you are good at math. So that's a great stereotype, right? Just saying, oh, all Asians are good at math. That's definitely not true, because number one, you have to meet all Asians to say that, which is not, it can't really be done. Number two, saying all Asians are good at math is neglecting that you had different experiences, you had different likes, you had different dislikes. Same thing with me, right? So everyone has a different experience. So again, thanks for that great example. Now the example I want to give is, again, the movie Three Idiots. How many of you have seen Three Idiots?
Yes,
Once
ma'am.
again, I think a lot of students have watched Three Idiots.
Yeah.
Almost 80% of the class.
Yeah, okay. It was a really great movie, but for the purposes today, we're gonna talk about stereotypes. So if we look at the movie, it was the college in which the students enrolled was very strict, kind of like a Gurukul, right? So in order to receive success, in order to achieve success, you have to do your papers on time, you have to attend your classes, you have to be prompt to all your classes, you have to attend all lectures. And there was one student who refuted all of these things, Hannah. And at the end of the movie, what we see, that this student became the most successful despite going against every single norm, every single rule that said, in order to be successful, you have to follow these things. You have, right? Go to all classes, get A's in all your classes, follow these steps, and follow these procedures. And at the end of the movie, the guy who didn't follow any of those rules and procedures was the one who was most successful. So this is an example of how stereotypes are broken, right? If you believe there's only one way to do something, and there's just one person, just one instance of when that procedure or process is not followed, and they still come out shining on the other side, your stereotype is broken. So the example that was given for mathematics is great. Now I want an example from someone telling me how they break stereotypes. So give me an example of a stereotype and how you overcome that stereotype, or how you break that stereotype. Meaning, if people think a certain way, what have you done, or what can you do to make people say, no, that's not the right way to think?
Can I see that now?
Yes, please go ahead.
So actually, I'm in like a Indian society. So there are a lot of things that Indian society believe in, like a lot of myths, superstitions, and all. So like one of them is my mom. So like we are Indian culture, Asian moms and all. So whenever there's like a discrimination or anything on the basis of any color, race, gender, I'll be like, no, it's not good. It's against that person is also having a right to live in this world. And like no, not just that, but like that really hurts me when I'm seeing that, and I stand for that person, that particular person, whether in front of me, whosoever it is. So, like, whether it's my mom, whether it's any person, because I believe that discriminating is not going to be a good thing. I think, like, on the basis of gender, it's no, like, a boy and a girl should not never be discriminated. They both are equal in this society. A person should not be discriminated on the basis of their color, gender, race, or anything. So yeah, I stand for that particular person. And like, I sometimes I get like, scolded by my parents, by like, by my family, but I'm like weeping my tears, sobbing up, like, okay, I stand for something good, for a good purpose, and I'm like giving motivational thoughts to myself. Okay, yeah, that's all.
Oh, that's a great example. Thank you, Stans, again for sharing. Stans, you are very opinionated, and now I want to give the chance to someone else to give an example as good as the one Stans gave. So can someone else give me an example of how they combat stereotypes in their daily lives? Again, we just got a great example of how she combats stereotypes, right? How she stands up for people, how she doesn't think people should be judged based on their race or their gender. And she combats it by standing up for these people. So if anyone else can give me a similar example of a stereotype and how they either break it or stand up for it.
Maybe while the students are thinking about some example, I can share one. So, in the past few months, I have, I have exposure of working with children with blindness. So, one stereotype, even possibly that I had, not exactly I had it, but a lot of people around me have had it, that children with disabilities, not only with visual impairment, but any kind of disability, they will not be able to study, they will not be able to do well in their life. Or say, for instance, all that people who are blind can do is probably become beggars when they grow up. But that stereotype is something that in the past few months have proved wrong to a lot of people around me, because they have been able to see that children and adults who are blind, there's a possibility that they do not have one sense out of all the other five senses, but all the other five senses work at their maximized level. Like, for instance, I would probably not recognize someone just by hearing their voice, but they will be able to recognize people who probably they have spoken to 10 years back. That's how strong their ability is to remember things that have happened in the past. um for example, I was traveling with one of my colleagues who is completely blind. So it was just once that, he was hearing what the Google map was telling him while we were traveling from Delhi to a place in UP, that is Oraya. And surprisingly, the next time he absolutely remembered all the routes, just like Google Map had, had actually the route prior to us. So I think that was one example. And there's one important thing, that awareness is something that people lack. So, like, people who do not have any kind of disabilities, or who do not live with people who have some sort of disability, they lack the education of what they are supposed to do when something like this comes before them. They do not know how to interact with them in a manner that they do not, make them feel out of place. So I think in the past few months, I have met my friends, people I work with, and I have, I would say, educated them in few things that they should keep in mind when they are working or when they are talking or having a conversation or going around with people with some sort of with or any kind of disability. So I think making them aware of what these conditions are and letting them know that there are a lot of things that we can't do, but they can. So I think that is one example of a stereotype and how we can combat that stereotype.
Slumi, that was a great example. I think you got the crux of it. At the center of diversity and inclusion is awareness, right? Once you're aware of the differences, aware that people are from different backgrounds, are from different cultures, are gendered differently, I think that's when the appreciation comes in. So, for example, you said you once you had a stereotype, and once you started working with this I guess this community, that stereotype was broken. So you got the awareness, right? However you got the awareness, whether you were pushed, whether you felt obliged, just to be taught, you got the awareness. So the awareness is the very first thing we need to accomplish in order to get over any stereotype. Once you get the awareness, once you become a friend to that blind person, once you become a friend to the transgender person, once you become a friend to the person from maybe from a different state, that's when your awareness will increase, and that's when your acceptance will increase, right? You will appreciate and you will value their opinions and what they can bring to the table. So, Somi, thank you for that example. I think it really went to the core of what we're trying to discuss here. Okay, can we go to the last slide?
Absolutely.
Okay, so how can we promote equality? So based on our discussion today, we're coming to a close. Tell me how we can promote equality. Someone on the call. Anyone want to jump at a response for me?
Can I say, ma'am?
Yes, you can.
Actually, ma'am, I think like first of all, as Ma'am Salome said, and I also do think that getting a basic knowledge about this all is very important. Like, right now in this generation, we also call Gen Zs, right? So there are a lot of LGBTQs and a lot of things to know about more. But in this society right now, people don't accept those sort of people, right? And pathetic uh which is very pathetic, right? And I believe getting a basic knowledge about these all things, whether knowledge can be education can get in any age, right? So not just to students, but I think to students also, if that knowledge will be provided, that will be much better. But to each and every person, if that will be something adults, so knowledge is one of the most basic thing, and self-realization, self-morals is more very important, I guess.
Yes, you are very right. And also I want to touch back on the example of stereotypes. You said you stand up to stereotypes. You stand up for people when they are prejudiced, when they're judged, right? That's a huge part of promoting equality, right? When you see an injustice happening, when you see someone being judged or biased, maybe because of their color or because maybe, like Salome said, because they're blind, standing up for that person, giving them a chance promotes equality. Because even if it's just one person, standing up for that one person, that one instance makes a difference. Maybe not in the world, but slowly and surely it does make a difference with that one person that you change their experience for. It proliferates a change in experiences. If people see, okay, how many of you know what the domino effect is? The domino effect is when one domino falls, the next one falls, then the third one falls, the fourth one falls, right? So all of you are dominoes. If you can stand up for that one person, that one instance of inequality, that's going to inspire another person to do the same. And by the time you know it, you've created a change, not only in your community, but in the world. And that's what, at the end of the day, that's what I think you all want to do, right? You all are inspiring minds. You all are trying to figure out what the right career is. You all have the motivation to make a change, to want to make an impact, right? How do I know that? Because you're on the call today. Because you woke up super early on a cold winter morning to attend a lecture. And again, this lecture is not even a subject that you can learn in school. It's not something that someone is going to give you a grade on. However, diversity and inclusion is a subject that is inherent, right? Like Salome said, it's about the awareness, about understanding that there are stereotypes, that understanding that, yes, I can do something about it. Understanding that, yes, people are judged based on their differences, based on from where they are, from what they believe. And sometimes these aren't fair. But if you can understand these people and accept and understand that despite the differences, despite you thinking, oh, this guy is impoverished, what does he know? This person is not educated. What does he know? Despite having those thoughts and still understanding and still hearing people, that's only going to add to your education, to your greatness. Because when you can appreciate everyone and listen to everyone's opinion, no matter where they are from, that only makes your solution better. Because just like when you're coming up with like when you're trying to make a picture, your picture is more beautiful when you use more colors, right? If you just use red based on your experience, you say red is the best color, but then you have a blind person maybe, or maybe you have someone from Africa saying, oh no, but blue is really nice too, or maybe yellow is really nice. And you start using these colors in your own picture, that's when your picture becomes better. That's when you can start telling everyone, hey, look at my picture, and start teaching people your ways and your insights. Salome, can we go to the last slide, or is this it?
This is the last slide, Alma. We just have a question and answer slide post this.
Yes, so, okay. So this brings me to the end of my discussion. So again, I want to thank you all for sharing. Let me reintroduce myself to you now. So my name is Alma Chopra. I came here to India from the US 10 years ago I have a disability. I have a neurological condition, which, like Salome mentioned in the very beginning, I'm not right now. I'm not able to walk by myself. So I think through our discussion, one of the reasons why I am so passionate about diversity and inclusion is because I myself have faced the stereotypes. I have myself faced the challenges. I have myself faced the prejudices. Like Slomi said, there are a lot of people out there, and you may be one of them, that a kind of stereotypes people with disabilities, that they can't do this. There's a huge stereotype that says once you have one disability, people often assume that you just have all of their disabilities, right? Learning, physical, emotional, etc., right? So I am here today to debunk that stereotype. You have a person here who has a neurological condition. Despite that neurological condition, despite having motor dysfunctions, despite not being able to walk, has received her degree not only in psychology, but English and Spanish as well. And has not only done her graduation, but went to law school as well. And after that, received an honorary degree in international philanthropy and psychology. So today I'm here as an example to show you stereotypes can, should, and now that you guys know, will be debunked. So again, Salome, I thank you and Mr. Satish for allowing me to speak with you on this early Tuesday morning. I want to thank you, students, for joining the call. Hopefully, I made some impact on your awareness and your incentive to understand and appreciate diversity. This may not be a subject right now in colleges and in schools, and something that we can learn, but having this understanding and having this awareness is really vital in, I think, in progressing our own knowledge. So if you can understand diversity, if you can appreciate inclusion, that's only going to help you further your education, further your careers, let you get to the top a little more quickly. So again, Salome, thank you for letting me be here today and talking to your students.
Thank you so much, Alma, for being so inspiring to the students. I would just quickly ask the students, do you want to share anything with Alma after her session today? Any words of feedback, positivity? So Amina says, thank you so much, ma'am. Anyone? Okay. Yes. Yes,
I
yes.
want to so I want to thank Ma'am Alma and Ma'am Saloni for this meeting. This was very captivating and very interactive and interesting meeting. I really liked it, like this meeting, and now I was thinking that how cool Ma'am Alma was, she is, and now I'm thinking now how much brave she is to she is facing a neurological problem, but still she is fighting for others and thinking for others and in the betterment of others. I'm feeling so proud and I'm feeling so blessed right now. Thank you.
And thank you, Sanjin. That's very nice feedback to hear from you. If anyone wants to know more about me, please do visit my website, almachopra.com. And I'm also on YouTube, Facebook, Instagram, and LinkedIn under my name, which is Alma Chopra. It's spelled exactly how it sounds, but yes, my purpose is very involved in diversity and inclusion, to spread awareness, to try and impact your minds, right? You're the future. You are the future of the world. So if we can impact your minds, and if you can understand the importance of diversity and inclusion, I think that's what my goal is. So thanks again for listening, and hopefully you can take a little bit of this in your days each day and continue my mission.
Yes, we have a lot of students sharing that. Thank you so much, ma'am, for the wonderful session. It was great for them. And I also believe that, Alma, thank you so much for showing our students, to give them a little snippet of how important inclusion and diversity is. I am
Yes.
sure that there will be a number of instances in the student's life when they grow, when they move out of school, they go to college, they will have various experiences. And when they have such an experience, they will be able to, reflect back and think about this session that you had with them. So it was very inspiring, and I'm sure that, like Stanton said, we all over here feel that you're so brave and so confident in everything that you do. And we are all very grateful and very honored to have you here with us to share with us everything that you want all of us and the world to know. I think we're a little population who's hearing you today, but I'm sure we will be reaching out to more people. And like you said, the domino effect. So thank you so much, Alma, for your time. On behalf of Ek Kadam Aur Foundation, Dr. Satish Tripathi, all our partner schools, our teacher coordinators and students, I would like to express my heartfelt gratitude to you, Alma, and also for your team members for being so kind, being so collaborative, and for helping us to have this session successfully. So thank you so much. And that too early in the morning on a Tuesday.
Yeah. Yeah.
Thank
Well,
you.
thank
Hello,
you.
Salome. Good morning, Alma ma'am, Salome. Good morning, everyone. At the end, I just want to say something. Hello, Alma ma'am. I'm teachers coordinator of London School. And I'm very, very much, how I could see, some students, they are very, this is one such session where I could see that, students are very interactive, and some students where they're trying to say, but I believe that, we have winter vacation. So some students are staying far away from the main city. So they are finding some connectivity problem. I could see that some students are trying to say something, but they are not able to do so. And I personally believe that when we are working together with a group of people, especially in school, we come across, this kind of problem, being stereotypes and all. And this is one such session that I personally believe that we should have such session, more of such session, because this is an awareness, nothing but an awareness, kind of an awareness program for student. So through this way we can we can train the young mind to how you can break the stereotype and how you can encourage others who are trapped in such situation. So thank you so much, Alma ma'am, and we are looking forward to see you again in future. Thank you so much.
Thank you so much. So Alma, Miss Kunzes is a teacher coordinator from our school in Ladakh. And yes.
Very nice.
Okay.
Thank you for that wonderful feedback. I hope, I hope to have the opportunity to again talk to students. You're right? It's all about awareness. I believe for centuries now, yes, people have careers, people need to go to school, people need to be educated. But as diversity and inclusion, as it's becoming a more popular topic, it's essential for this awareness, not only for the improvement of our careers and maybe our education, but just as far as like a humanitarian principle. If we can all become more compassionate and understanding to other people's differences and perspectives, it's not only going to help our society grow, but it's also going to help us grow as an individual. So I think the topic that we discussed today is it's a growth factor on multi-levels. We could have just had a discussion on mathematics or science or communication, but again, I think diversity inclusion, the awareness of that is more pervasive, and it affects everyone's lives on a fundamental level. And I think once the students are agreed with that and can understand that, I think their learning will just become so much more open-minded, and they'll be able to soak in so much more.
Exactly.
Absolutely. Yes. Thank you so much. Thank you so much, Alma.
Thank you, Salome.
Bye.
Thank you. Thanks, guys. Have a great day.